sends you into warp space to fight the force of chaos. Deep in a parallel universe where nightmares are real. The ultimate encounter is here. Space Crusade, now with a new adventure pack.
Hi, welcome back to Know Your Mother's Hobbies. Today in our post-Hero Quest adventures, we're looking at a League of Votann miniature from Warhammer 40k. This is an Einhyr Champion. You can see I don't have the head on there. I have them separate. I couldn't figure out which head I was going to go for, but I think I'm going to go for this unhelmeted one on the side. Looks a little bit like Zarya from Overwatch, and I got some inspiration immediately from that. So let's go paint. Now we're going to paint this Einhyr Champion as the Trans-Hyperian Alliance color scheme, or at least what I think that would look like, my interpretation of that on this champion. To do that, we're using Gryph-Hound Orange, and we're going to put that all over all the spots on the armor, all the big plates and whatnot that we want to be this orange color. In hindsight, I do think I would use a 50-50 or a thinned down version of this with maybe an acrylic medium of some sort, Lamia medium or whatever have you, just to get a thinner, brighter coverage. It was a little darker than I had expected, so keep that in mind when doing your own. You might want it a little bit brighter. Then of course we clean up with whatever white we've got. In this case we have bold titanium white, because I really want that to be clean and clear and crisp. Go around there and clean it all up. Then we're using Tyrant Skull. We're going to give this a dry brush. I'm using Tyrant Skull instead of Wraithbone or something else because it does have a more yellow color to it, a yellow tinge to it, and I thought that that would be a nice dry brush. You could stop there and just have that be your highlight, but I chose to tint it a little bit with Yandin Yellow instead to give it a more punchy and yellow look to it overall. No need to thin it down if you're just applying it with some care. Alright, now on to the actual painting. We're going to do a bunch of accent parts with Black Templar. So this is going to accent the armor in those shoulder plates, as well as a bunch of the gear that they have, like the shield and the hammer. And we're going to block out big chunks of this mini using this Black Templar. And that's going to give us some cool contrast all over the miniature. So just go around and pick parts that you want. I chose these thruster bits, the hammer, the guns that are in the back of that big old shield, as well as that mounting post for the golden decoration. Then Basilicanum Gray for any steel parts that we want. There's a bunch that I chose on the hammer, like the knob and whatnot, as well as these pistons here. Just eyeball around or take note as you watch the video on where I chose to do them. I used some reference around the internet as well as the art for this miniature. I say art, but I guess the photograph that GW had already, just to eyeball where I wanted some of these details to go. That can always help when you're trying to pick things out. Another little accent color I chose was Aetheric Blue, and I put that on the ribbing of the power armor suit. I thought that would give it a nice little pop of color in there that you get to see, as well as I think 2 or 3 coats on that back tassel decoration, as I felt it needs some color as well. Guilliman Flesh for our gold blocking, as well as our pale Caucasian skin that I'm doing for this League of Votann member. Volupus Pink, love it for a good handle on a weapon. I don't know why, it just always stands out as like a striking handle color for weaponry and whatnot. So I chose to do that for the leather strap, as well as the handle grip and her hair, because of course I think she looks a little bit like Zarya. Alright, onto the layering. We're going to build up this black with the Dark Reaper, and that'll give us some little pops of definition all around and bring up those details, those edging. There's lots of little lines and grooves and whatnot, and this is going to bring all that up and let us see some of that recessed detail. So just go all around and pick that out. And on areas that you're having a little bit of trouble, just go in with a brush and line it in, and just get it smooth. You can see here, even here on the boosters, I'm just adding some smoother lines. It doesn't have to be dry brushed. You can actually draw in some lines. And Rizian Gray dry brush here to again pick out those grooves. There's lots of hard angles on this miniature, which is great for picking out these nice little highlight details with a dry brush. You can also go in and add some details with your brush and highlights in there, like the inside rim of her big old power armor jumpsuit. Then we're going to use gunmetal to layer up all of our steel metal bits. So these pistons on the front. There's also some bolts that I end up doing later. There's one big old one under her big old shoulder pads. You can see it right here at this angle, big old bolt, as well as one on the back. I chose to do those later. So things like the gun tips or gun accents, these huge turbine on the hammer weapon, and that same turbine is used on the boosters as well. So I end up adding some gunmetal to the back end of those boosters. And of course, you can see we have that little face on there. I chose to do the face on the shield as well as the decal on the front of that shield, just to give some extra interest from the gold details we're going to do later. And of course, we have our dark wash here, followed by or mixed with a gloss wash afterwards, just to blend in some of that metals. You heard me mention gold, so we're doing all these gold runes and pockets of golden detail, like this big light area here on her chest with gold. There's some bullets, a lot of little fine-tuned details, so take your time, be relaxed, put some music on, and chill out. Otherwise, you can, just touch it up later. It's just paint. Make mistakes, it's okay. And we follow that up with a flesh wash for blending and mixing, as well as either mixed in or followed up with a glossy varnish after. Then we're going to start layering up the face with Cadian Flesh Tone. This is my go-to for our Caucasian faces. We're just going to smooth out some of those maybe less saturated or blotchy areas. Follow that up with Kislev Flesh as well, for a brighter highlight. Then we're building up some light on the hair here with Emperor's Children, or any kind of other brighter pink for that hair. Going in and adding that first look of L'Oreal goodness. Now pushing that skin tone further, we're going to use Pallid Witch Flesh for some extra little pings of highlight on her face. Just getting the most high areas like the edge of the brow, some cheekbones, the nose, etc. And you know me, if I have a female ahead of me, I like to do some extra little makeup bits just to really accentuate. We're going to put some Karaberg lipstick on. Now this is a mix on her hair for a little bit of extra highlight using a white and that Emperor's Children just to brighten it up a little further, but keep that pinky rosy tone. And then coming back in with Bold Titanium White for those extra special little spots of glinty white highlight on her hair. Now we're also going to use that white, keep it out. We're going to do some extra details here on this piping, as well as there's some cables and lights and stuff that we're going to add some extra color to later. There's a lot of extra touches we're going to be adding to this miniature that you can do yourself to push it if you really feel like you want that challenge. Coming back with that Aethermatic Blue. And just like I said, we're going to add some extra pops of color and interest to the miniature by just going over those cables and lights. Now, all over, we're going to add some Wraithbone for some extra highlights on this armor. You don't have to go too crazy. You don't have to edge highlight this whole thing. You can just pick out some corners and some edges and spot in some details as you see fit. You did some dry brush earlier. You can focus some streaks and lines across where those dry brush marks left earlier, where you did that Ayandin yellow yourself. You can see where it's picked out and just choose where you want to add some of those highlights and accentuate. We're going to keep this Wraithbone out and start putting in our line here for some decal work. Now, I don't have a decal because this is the only Votann miniature I have, but you guys out there might have one, so I figured I'd show you how to do this. There's some handy dandy bolts here on that shoulder pad. You just line them up and go top to bottom and just take your time. Start in the middle, stretch yourself out, follow those bolts, you'll be fine. Then going back around with our white, we're going to add some more white highlights all over the place, like that tassel in the back, those cables, the lights, the pipe, all those little bits of interest that we popped in there, those little color bits. And we're going to go over our shoulder stripe as well, make it much more bright and striking. Another little detail we can add here is some extra pings of chrome highlight on all of our steel, as well as some fun little hits of light on the gold. You know how I like to do it. Just dot it around, pick some points of interest. You can use the natural lighting of your lamp even to find some nice highlights and points of interest. You don't have to go crazy. We're also going to use this chrome to bring up the brightness on the shield decal, as well as the shoulder pad decal. When it comes to those runes, just use your tiniest brush, your steadiest hand, and give it guts or glory. Just go for broke. Take your time, breathe in, breathe out, you'll have it. We're using Dark Reaper here to add some chips, some little points of interest here on that pristine shoulder pad stripe. Thought this guy deserved some weathering, and so we're going to continue that weathering with some Garagax Sewer to be our rust or some weathering wear on this power armor. Let's go around dotting some in the underside of panels, in some grooves. You don't have to go crazy, just dot it in as you see fit. I chose Garagax because, you know, sometimes you might want to wipe it away, or you can add some streaky look as well, so it's a lot more variation in there. I got inspired from the Dragon Ball miniature we did earlier and decided to show you guys how I did that base. We did Tarragon Turquoise for the stonework, Gorgrunta Fur for the dirt, and we have Cabalite Green to clean up any hard surfaces or details we want to smooth out before we do an all-over dry brush with Tyrant Skull, just giving everything a nice, warm, unified look. Then, of course, we're going to do that rim in black. And there you have it, with the head PVA glued on to avoid frosting. We have our Ancestor's Wrath variant of the Einhyr Champion, Leagues of Votann, Trans-Hyperian Alliance, all that jazz done up. Oh my gosh, so much to name in this miniature. But yeah, we're all finished, all looking glorious and groovy. I really like how this turned out, even if not as bright as I originally wanted. I think we managed to pull through something that looks pretty rad and gets me inspired for other Leagues of Votann figures as well. I don't have any. I'm trying to thin down my collection as it is, but it is something I'm interested in possibly picking up a little skirmish team here or there. Maybe some figures, some kill team action going on. A couple little guys. Hope you guys liked this video. Hope it helped you figure out how you might want to paint some of your miniatures, or even how you might block things out with different colors and do your own. Regardless, thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Big ups to the patrons. Thank you for your support as well. Hope you guys are all enjoying a peek at different things as we wait for first light. Bye-bye!